Hello, I'm Scott Wrighton. I'm the city manager in Decatur, and I hope that you're enjoying the holiday season, and I certainly am, and look forward to bringing you updates every week about what the city is doing. Before I mention a couple of items that happened at the last Decatur City Council meeting, I wanted to make a couple of announcements that might be of interest to you. After 4 months as interim police chief, Shane Brandell was promoted to the permanent position of police chief. I'm very pleased to have made this promotion. I think that Shane brings many of the leadership skills that Decatur needs at this critical time. The way that law enforcement is provided, what the expectations are from citizens, is changing rapidly. There needs to, though, continue to be a strong emphasis on security and equal access to the rule of law, a focus on new technologies and many other things as the way that law enforcement services in general are provided in the United States. And I think that Shane brings 25 years of experience on our own Decatur Police Department and many of the other skills necessary to take a key leadership role in this way, and I'm pleased to have made this appointment. One of the other things that many of you might have seen by virtue of items in your mailbox has to do with the City of Decatur Municipal Aggregation Program. This is a big word that basically means that the city has for several years taken a position as an intermediary, if you will, between the power provider and the customer by aggregating or putting all in one group. In other words, certain customers, then we can act as a buyer of power to make it cheaper for the citizens. A lot of people may not realize that Ameren is really in the business, not just in Decatur but elsewhere, of delivering power. They aren't in the power production anymore. They've separated that company out. And so the Ameren bill that you get includes a portion, an expense that they charge you for delivering the power to your home or to your business. And then somewhere on that bill, it will say that either Ameren is the person who has provided the power to you or some other company. The city of Decatur for a couple of years has had a different power supplier because the per kilowatt hour has been cheaper. That's called municipal aggregation. And the way our system works here is that all the residential customers are automatically in municipal aggregation unless you choose to opt out. And many of our citizens have received those small yellow postcards where you get to decide, no, I want to stay in or I want to opt out. But if nobody responds, then they are a part of the municipal aggregation program. And many of you have received letters from Ameren, kind of difficult to understand letters. The wording that they use is somewhat unfortunate. And what it says is that at the end of this year, at the end of this month, December of 2021, the municipal aggregation contract is ending. We chose to end the municipal aggregation contract for now because the rate that we will have to pay after the first of the year for the first time is higher than Ameren's rate. So in the interest of the lowest rates possible for the customer, we said, well, we've always been able to aggregate all of these customers together and go to Homefield or to Constellation or somebody else and get a better rate than Ameren charges. Because of what's going on in the energy business right now, there's a lot of unpredictability, and right now it's actually cheaper to use Ameren rates rather than the aggregation rates. So we made a decision, probably temporary, but in the best interest of the ratepayers, to say, okay, we're disbanding or not disbanding, but not having municipal aggregation, at least for a while, so you'll default to your Ameren rate. Why? Because it's lower. Because we always want to make a decision that is in the best rate-paying interests of the customer. Now, after the first of the year, it could well happen that we are able to put together a contract for municipal aggregation that is better than Ameren, but as of right now, we can't. So the letter doesn't explain all of that, so I wanted to mention it to you here. Please know that at every step, we're either going to leave you with Ameren or have a municipal aggregation contract, depending exclusively on which one gives us the lowest rate for the customer. A couple of other things that happened at the last Municipal City Council meeting. We approved a budget for 2022 beginning on January 1st. We are required by law to adopt a balanced budget before the beginning of the fiscal year, and the mayor and city council did that after a lot of time spent in study sessions evaluating all the different programs of the budget, which this year totaled more than $250 million. Now, in the aggregate, our revenues exceed expenditures. That's always a good thing. But there are some anomalies in the budget that are one-time circumstances. For example, we decided that we're going to issue some bonds to make continue to make water and sewer improvements. And we're going to do that in the first quarter of 2022, about $22 million worth. We have good resources already in the water and sewer fund, but the interest rates are going to stay low only for another couple of months, we believe. And then later in 2022, because of fiscal actions taken by the Fed in Washington, we expect rates to go up as a part of inflationary pressures. So we want to lock in low interest rates on our costs to build new sewer and water projects, and do that early in 2022 so that we can lock in those low rates. So that's a one-time revenue that we'll have that sort of increases the aggregate amount of the budget. One of the other things that on a one-time basis tends to bloat the budget a little bit is all of the money that the city has received in 2021 and will receive in 2022 from the various federal relief programs, the CARES and ARP and some of the other programs, some of which are directly related to targeted expenditure areas like transit or housing or something like that, and others which are more general. But these are one-time expenses. The City Council has been very careful about how to use those monies, and they've decided that most of the money is going to go into our rehabilitation and neighborhood revitalization project, a lesser amount into water and sewer projects because those are very expensive, and a lesser amount still going into law enforcement equipment to help our police officers do their job better. In the weeks ahead, probably in early January, we'll be publishing as well as posting on the website a kind of pie chart explanation of where all the relief money goes, so that you can be convinced that the mayor and council have made decisions that are in the good stewardship of the city and really using the money where it is needed most and on the city's priorities. Finally, the City Council spent some time last Monday talking about an improvement at the lake. The area between roughly Lost Bridge Road extending around Basin 2 to the New Devon location is an area that we consider as a kind of exclusion zone for development of a more advanced marina, rather than the kind of haphazard arrangement that we have now with private docks in a kind of irregular fashion. So rather than create a lot of disruption in this area, but still respond to a very real need and real demand for additional docks by private boat owners, we decided to work with the Decatur Park District and with G&H Marine, a local contractor here in Macon County, to build about 40 new slips in 2 dock structures of 20 each. And then if that is successful, and if there's already demand, there's 57 people on the waiting list, and so there'll be 40 slips for that. And as additional demand is made clear, then those same partners will work to make additional docks as we move closer to the beach house. And in the process, we believe, do something that has been in the city's long-range plans for many years, almost 10 years, and that is to make better use, more efficient use of the lakeshore space in that section of Basin 2, give more access to more boaters to the pleasures and resources there by being on Lake Decatur. Now, it involves a little bit of dislocation. There's a small number of docks that have to be relocated or moved, or the owners of those docks and boats would have to go to the new dock. But the area we selected for these docks is perhaps the area in that marina exclusion zone that has the least disruption. So the smallest number of boats and docks are affected by this change. But it really is in conformance with the city's long-range plan, which is to increase the size and services of the marina in that area. So like a lot of other projects at the city, it'll be incremental. We do a piece a year, and we expect that one will be an incremental project as well. So stay tuned for some more details. Thanks again for tuning in, and I look forward to bringing you some more information about your city next week.